after seeing the film and having that kind of first, I would say mostly positive reaction to it, um, and after doing some research or just looking into more of the information behind the documentary, what are your sort of feelings at this point on it?
Yeah, I still think people should. Well, I think people, if people want to watch it, watch it. I know a lot of people in the community have been saying don't watch it, it's trash, but I still think it's a good starter, but just do more afterwards. Watch other movies, look at books, look at what the experts in the movie have been like responding to about it. Like that was one thing, is a lot of the people that have been interviewed in it have kind of been coming out and saying like they weren't told what it was about, they weren't told they were going to be in it in the end, which like that's Christina Hicks was the professor who talked about subsidies, and she said that she was interviewed like a long time ago and then was never told like she was going to be in the film, what it was really about. She said that they just chatted vaguely with her for a while until I think she just apparently said stuff they liked and they put it in the film, which I mean, I can get like maybe why they did that, which was the whole like, oh, we don't want them to know so that they tell us stuff. But it's also like for good filmmaking, I feel like you should be going in at least maybe saying this movie is about this and this, can like whatever, you know? I
Yeah,
just
so
think it's
that
kind of
brings up
sketchy filmmaking.
yeah, so that brings up one of the issues that I've been noticing, or that even, I mean, even when you watch the film, you can see it in the film how some of the interviews that they did with like Oceana, Plastic Coalition, not to say that the individuals that were interviewed weren't necessarily like telling the truth or anything. However, it's pretty unethical filmmaking to interview someone and not tell them why you're interviewing them.
Yeah. Well, in
Um,
Plastic Pollution Coalition, they came out and said that they were interested in the work that they do, but then they were like being really rude in the process. And obviously like Pollution Coalition is like they don't take a huge stance on fishing just because they focus more on a different area,
yeah,
which
which,
that that it was kind of the problem with like not Seaspiracy. Cowspiracy did the same thing with like Greenpeace and Surfrider, which was like my problem with that movie, is I was like, it's Surfrider, they're still great, but it like threw them under the bus.
yeah, so that's kind of something that I kind of fall like middle of the line, because obviously they did sort of unearth the fact that some of these larger conservation organizations are funded by things that maybe are associated with not so conservation based corporations, which is something that happens a lot in all areas of conservation, whether it be the ocean, rainforest, whatever it is. So it did kind of unearth that fact that that does happen. However, I do think it sort of created this movement within the ocean conservation world where people then started to go and start attacking conservation organizations that are doing a lot of good work just because they didn't say you should go vegan, which to each their own, like that's a personal choice. I
Yeah.
always tell people, I'm like, yeah, if you want to make the biggest difference when it comes to seafood, that's the best way to do it. Doesn't mean it's the only answer. um, but I think a lot of people became very frustrated with learning about those things and then started pointing the finger at a lot of different conservation organizations like, oh, did you see Seaspiracy? Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? Oh, no, wrong answer. Sorry. I'm not going to support you anymore.
That was literally the Four Ocean exchange I posted.
Yeah. So,
Because yeah, Four Ocean shared they had shared something and someone commented like, are you against fisheries? And they were like, no, like we support sustainable fisheries, like we're against obviously bad practices.
yeah. So it is hard. Obviously, like with Sea Shepherd, you and I have both talked about how the organization itself has been somewhat problematic um, outside of this documentary. And so we do, at least for me, and I'm sure you've talked about this as well, there is a little bit of this issue with now the documentary, not to say that Oceana and Plastic Pollution Coalition don't have their own issues, but they sort of like push down a lot of conservation organizations to lift Sea Shepherd up on this like high pedestal,
Yeah.
which I don't necessarily not it's hard because obviously they still also do good work. But
Yeah, they have good projects.
I don't think they necessarily deserve the like the crown of best conservation organization out there.
Yeah, people were even commenting like, because I made a funny TikTok about it, and they were like, "I thought Sea Shepherd was great. Like, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh! First of all, like, no, but every organization is gonna have problems. Sea Shepherds is just like I've heard issues from a personal level, like from people who have been in their organization, people who have worked around their volunteers, and then there's like the general public stuff where they're really extreme and really polarizing."
They did also sort of encourage people in a way to go after some organizations that, sure, okay, are they doing some not great things? Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily discredit all the good work that they've done.
Well, more so like things you don't agree. Like Oceana just says like, if you're gonna eat seafood, eat this kind of seafood.
Mm-hmm.
And like they have the tagline of like,
people weren't
like,
happy with that answer. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like that's a good answer for a lot of people.